My name is Dani McBride, and I am here at Washington Park in front of Music Hall in Cincinnati, Ohio's downtown neighborhood of Over the Rhine, where actually my husband Josh grew up in. I am mixed Korean and white, and my husband is mixed Black and white, and so the work of racial healing and racial reconciliation has been important to me on a personal level, but also a professional level as well. My work with Undivided first began through required training. My first cohort really impacted me, and at the end of the cohort, I felt God calling me very clearly to make the work of racial healing and reconciliation a part of the rest of my life, to integrate it into whatever I ended up doing. And that first cohort was especially impactful to me because it coincided with the time of really major racial trauma that I was experiencing in my personal life. I began dating my husband in college, and my mom, when I told her about my new relationship, was extremely concerned for me because of what my life would be being in a relationship with a man who was African American. My mom had concerns because she had experienced difficulty being in a biracial relationship herself with my dad, who was white, but also just because of different cultural stereotypes that she had about the Black community that she was concerned. And as my relationship got more serious, my mom's concerns became much louder and eventually very overtly racist, which led to a complete estrangement of our relationship, which was very mind-blowing because my mom was my spiritual mentor and best friend. Like, my mom raised me with a culture of prayer and a culture of studying God's Word, and she truly loved everyone that she encountered, no matter what they looked like or where they were from. But when it came to who I might marry, she had so much fear for what my life would be that she was willing to lose our relationship in effort to protect me. Really thankful that I was able to really lean into my relationship with God, to ask God, like, is this what you have for me? And if it is, then I have to trust you through this loss. My proximity to Blackness through my husband is what really introduced me to this work of racial healing and reconciliation on a very personal level, because I was confronted with it and I couldn't ignore it. And so right as that estrangement occurred, so did my participation in that first cohort. And that cohort provided me a space to talk openly and vulnerably about a really shameful and hurtful personal situation that was really hard to share about my mom, who loved God, and how it impacted me and my family. And so after that first cohort, I became trained as a facilitator. Through each cohort, I really felt myself grow in that Kairos moment of, with each new cohort, just leading off into a new level of growth. And as I went through Undivided cohorts and trainings, I started gaining this crew of ladies that heard my story about my mom and I, and loved my mom and didn't judge her, but also allowed me to speak truth, and also to encourage me, and most importantly, to pray for my mom and my reconciliation, because for me it was so too painful and raw to pray about myself. At the same time, my mom got really sick with cancer, and she had a long cancer journey where she progressively just deteriorated. And my mom and I still hadn't ever talked, and it now was going on 5, 6, 7 years. And over the course of those 7 years, I gained a group of over 30 ladies through the Undivided community and through my personal community that were praying for my mom and I. My mom eventually got to the point where she was on her deathbed, and she still wasn't willing to see me, even though I know my mom loved me so much and had been praying for me and my husband all those years. And actually, my mom has been praying for my future spouse since, I'm sure, the moment she knew she was pregnant with me. My dad invited Josh and I to come see her and surprise her, and my mom doesn't like surprises, but we showed up My mom was laying in a hospital bed in hospice in the living room of the childhood home that I grew up in. And I'm seeing her for the first time in 7 years. And I'm sitting by a chair by her hospital bed. And my mom is just pouring out all the love of affection, of hugs and kisses that she had for me. And over the years that we had been estranged, that was the main thing that I had really missed about my mom, because contrary to, I think, stereotypical Asian culture, my mom was really affectionate with just hugs and affirmation and love. As I sat in that chair, I felt like God was just pouring into me everything my heart had wanted for that reconciliation with my mom over those years of estrangement. And I felt the answer of everybody's prayers in that moment. And I was overwhelmed with two things. The first being that God was giving me and my mom this really good gift because, one, He just loves us as His daughters. God is a really good father who likes to give His children good gifts. And He doesn't have to, but like a good father, He likes to. And God didn't have to do that for us on earth, but He did. And He did that out of His love and care for our heart's desires. And second, I knew that moment had happened in real life because my husband, my family, my undivided community, the prayerless ladies, I call them, had been praying for years for this moment, and to just receive the outpouring of God's blessing in that moment left me with an impression that I already knew from the culture I was raised in, but just the power of prayer I felt realized in that moment. And it was an amazing visit. We were saying goodbye to my mom, and it was Josh's turn to say bye to her, and he said, "Hey, can we come visit you again?" And my mom said, "Yeah, definitely." And then he said, "Can I give you a hug?" And she said yes. And when he leaned down, because he's very tall, over her bed to hug her, they were embracing, and as he raised his head to stand back up, my mom kissed him on the cheek. And for me, it was such a beautiful moment to see that truly what people had told me all those years was that it wasn't personal against my husband, and that it was my, mom's own, cultural things that she needed to work out. And so to see that moment of love that she expressed, I felt was her way of reconciling with me and with Josh over, the discrimination that she had, enacted against our relationship. And so I cried like the whole way home, and it was amazing just to revel in God's just moment of blessing and continued blessing over that. And my mom passed away shortly after that, and I'm so thankful to have had received that moment and support through that process from the undivided experiences I've gone through, and more importantly, just the community of friends that I developed to be able to pray and support me along the way.